Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another spicy video with Lucius Coal. If you like this type of content, go down below, like, subscribe, share, and of course leave a comment if you think I deserve it. The Coal Factory and the Coal Train on our way to 1,000 Patriots strong. Thanks to people like you watching content like this. I got a fun one for you today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be going into the depths. That's right, the deep, dark depths of the tier list. And we're talking specifically about conservative influencers. Now, please don't hound me, guys. These aren't the epitomes of conservatism. But again, I'm using a very broad brush, an umbrella, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to be taking these true patriots that are fighting the good fight and the fight for America, and we're going to be breaking them down into a couple categories. So let's go into the categories, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about legendary champions. A legendary champion is an influencer of conservatism who is simply fighting the good fight on all levels. Not only do they produce massive amount of influence, but they're able to turn the tide in terms of players of the game that are truly hardcore progressive, maybe even fascist, totalitarian. These are the types of people that not only garner massive amounts of appeal across all lines of the political spectrum, but they are able to bring in hardcore fan bases that actually go out on the ground and do the real legwork required for liberty. Dominant competitor, a step below legendary champion. Again, a very, very solid, a very, very stoic, a very, very strong participant in the game that is conservatism and online activism. But again, just a step below, but a very worthy gladiator who deserves their own tier in of itself. A solid participant, category number 3, guys. A solid participant is someone who simply just gets it out there every single day, every single week, constantly out there fighting the good fight, a true patriot and somebody who's actually liberty minded and going out there and making sure that conservatism is reaching the airwaves, reaching into the info wars, if you will, and fighting that good fight. The next we have is an unpolished actor. Now, I thought I would kind of create a separate category for this. This is for players of the game that are kind of holding themselves back. And this is my opinion. They're holding themselves back from actually breaking out into a wider audience. It doesn't mean necessarily that they don't have a massive amount of influence, but what I'm saying is that they could have a much larger following. They could have a much more verbose and strong foundation that they could use to then garner, true a true epitome of power in terms of changing the minds of the common man or woman. So we have that. Talkie, no more talkie. Now, this is specifically for people that not haven't reached rather grifter status, but simply they talk a good game. Maybe they're able to influence people. Maybe they even have a huge following, but for some reason, there's something within their rhetoric that just kind of makes them flatline. It makes them not have the gusto, not have the balls behind them in terms of actually creating true political change in the United States of America. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not a great, cornerstone of the community that is conservatism in a very broad sense. But what it does mean is that they've been talking a tough game for way too long, and it just seems like every time the tides turn or there's just a little bit of adversity, they falter. And the last one is Nom Nom Grifter. I couldn't get I was gonna go with garbage or just pathetic or something like that. But these are the types of people, grifters. They speak, they talk, but at the end of the day, they just don't execute. They are worse than a talkie no more talkie. This is the bottom of the barrel, at least in terms of this tier list. And again, a lot of these people that I pulled in here, I like for the most part. I follow for the most part. So you're not really going to see too much nom nom grifters. I don't even know if anyone on this list is actually going to make it. But with that said, let's get into it and see exactly who and where we're going. So you might not know all of these people, and again, if you feel like someone should have been on this list, leave down a comment down below and let me know who you think I am missing from this list. Honestly, this is 50 plus people. I could have gone, I was doing my research, I was picking smaller names, bigger names, and to be honest, in terms of making this list, I was looking for at least 100,000 followers on any of the big social media platforms, whether that be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I was basically using that as my measurement stick. Now, a lot of these people, not a lot, but a handful of these people have actually been banned from those. So then I look to the alt tech sites. Do they have a huge following there? Whether that be BitChute, whether that be DLive, whether that be Odyssey. And again, check me out in the description below for a couple of those as well. Odyssey, I believe when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will begin doing a kind of a bit more of a risque video on Odyssey that I couldn't push onto YouTube. So check that out when we get to 1,000. With that said, guys, let's get into it. The list starts at 8:05. Okay, here we go. ABL. So Anthony Brian Logan does a podcast. He's absolutely phenomenal. He pushes out content, I believe, on the daily. He's very, very consistent with what he does. He's very solid. He has a podcast where he actually takes callers, which kind of takes a little bit of a different approach than a lot of these other creators. He actually, rather than just reading off super chats or reading from the chat room, he actually has people call in, which makes him a little bit different in terms of the other people out here. He is very staunch in terms of his conservatism, basically, to the hilt. And he actually goes on TV and does debates in live, does the preparation, and does a very solid job representing conservatism. And not to mention, and I hate to bring race into this, guys, because it's pathetic. And honestly, you know what? I'm not even going to bring race into it. I'm not a lefty. With that said, he is, this is a tough one, guys. And we're only on number one. I would put ABL in at solid participant. I do believe that he could actually be maybe even on the lower tier of dominant competitor, but for right now, we're going to keep him on solid participant. Again, this man is consistent in what he does. He is able to push out content on a daily basis. He has a very strong podcast on conservatism. I highly recommend you check him out. That said, this ABL sitting on solid participant. Oh, it's really a tough one here, guys. It's dominant competitor, solid participant. And again, the only reason why I think I'm putting him here on solid participant is just because I kind of have a feel of where this tier list is going, and I don't want it to be super top heavy from the very get-go. Okay, Adam Krigler. Now, for those of you who don't know, he used to be on Timcast, had a bit of a falling out with Tim Pool, but has since created his own podcast. And he used to be a former liberal, and over the course of basically the last 6 to 8 months, he's been basically being red pilled on the daily, and he went from basically not a hardcore liberal, but a left leaning person, and now he went full MAGA, full Make America Great Again. And again, this is a tough one, but for me, guys, I'm going to put him here on unpolished actor, and that's only because I hate to, this is a tier list, guys, so we have to be comparing and contrasting each and every person on here, and knowing full well that Tim Pool is on this particular list. I can't see him right here. I know he's on, there he is, right here. Tim Pool, his work ethic is insane. Timcast probably pushes out between 3 and 5 videos every single day. And the work that Adam is doing is decent right now. His followers, when he first left Timcast, were at about, or not followers, but live viewers were sitting at about 10,000. He now has about a fifth of that, usually around 2,000 viewers whenever he does his YouTube stream. And I think he could do a lot more. He should honestly do a very similar, he should basically copy Tim Pool, to be honest with you. If he really wants to go down this rabbit hole, rather than just taking his podcast and simply putting it out there and then cutting clips from it and using that as his YouTube channel, he should have an additional channel where he breaks down stories every single day. I'm not saying he needs to be doing, 3 to 5 videos every single day like Tim Pool does, who's an absolute mad lad, but I think he's unpolished. He could be doing a lot more with the amount of influence that he has, and yeah, that's where we're at with Adam right now. Alex Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you know where I'm going with this. I think you know where I'm going with this. We're going to legendary champion, making the frogs gay. I think Alex Jones really is, he breaches not only the political sphere, but people who aren't even political whatsoever know who Alex Jones is. And I think that amount of influence and that amount of notoriety is something to, look up to. I mean, the man clearly has an audience, and it is beyond clear that the man could very well be the king of the legendary champions. I mean, we have a lot of people here, but very early on, I mean, Alex Jones is looking to be sitting on the top. And, his recent interview with Joe Rogan, obviously there was a huge falling out. He's been banned on YouTube. He's been banned on Facebook. InfoWars has basically been pushed to the corner of the internet. He still has a very, very large following as well as on radio. But despite all of that, despite all of the adversity, and I'm kind of throwing Owen Schroyer in here too. They're both very good. I'm kind of putting them together in terms of Alex Jones here. They push the needle and they change the culture war and they wake people up. And I believe in my heart of hearts there are a lot of people on this list who should have said something, when Alex Jones was banned. It is an absolute disgrace. Yes, what he said about Sandy Hook, what he ended up, getting in terms of Sandy Hook, he should be held responsible. And that's why he's getting sued. And guess what, guys? I'm pretty sure he's going to lose. So there it is. That's what happens. Look, he said something stupid. He didn't have it vetted. It wasn't backed up by enough evidence for what he was putting out there. And because of that, he was sued, and now he's going to lose money. Now what? So his entire life should be uprooted because of one thing that he said. Now, of course, you can probably pick out a handful of things that he said that are off the beaten path, if you will. But I mean, look at these mainstream media right now. They can gaslight without any retribution whatsoever. If you get anything wrong on any of the big tech media platforms, you are deplatformed. If you talk about a specific topic, deplatformed. And it's sad. When Alex Jones fell, Alex Jones was the first domino to fall. I didn't really expect a lot of people. Sorry to go off on a rant here. I didn't really expect a lot of people to, be fighting for when the Nazis got deplatformed on Twitter. But if you are a free speech extremist and you believe that anyone should be able to say whatever they want within reason, and when I say within reason, I mean you can't say something that is a call to action for direct violence. You can't, post something that in terms of like the little people, if you know what I'm saying, or things that are against the law. But other than that, I really do believe that all ideas should be entertained, and then those ideas should then be battled, within the arena of politics. Instead of silencing people, we should be able to speak. And honestly, Alex Jones should be back on YouTube. He should be back on all the media platforms. It's an absolute disgrace. Anomaly. Now, I really love this guy. If you haven't, he's a rapper turned political analyst. He still does rapping and stuff like that. He's got a Donald Trump song that went viral. It's very, very good. You can check him out. He goes by Legendary Energy, I believe, on Twitter. He's a very, very solid. He has a decent podcast. Doesn't have a name whatsoever, but he basically just hops onto YouTube and speaks facts. He had a major uprooting in terms of Facebook. He was recently essentially deplatformed, demonetized at the very least. He used to reach up to 500,000+ people with his videos on Facebook, and since then he's been throttled quite a bit in terms of big tech censorship. And this guy is an absolute monster. The way he speaks, the way he's able to break it down, and really his message is very clear. He does stuff in terms of what happened in terms of the pandemic that's going on right now. He talks about insider information in terms of Bill Gates. He talks about basically us being in a slave state right now and the government basically able to do whatever they want to our civil liberties, as well as additional information. The man is an absolute godsend. With that said, I don't believe he's reached legendary status at this point. You know what? Is he a solid participant or a dominant competitor? I feel like he might be on the low end of dominant competitor, but given his reach, again, if you don't know, Facebook, they put out a list of who's the top 10, most watched videos or most watched channels every single month. And he consistently reaches that bar. But after being throttled, I don't believe he's shown himself on it. But if he got his platform back, or at least got his monetization back, I believe he would be up there. So I got to go with dominant competitor, just the amount of influence he's able to do. Andy No, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, you got to check out Andy No, NGO on Twitter. This guy was hit with a milkshake a couple of years ago. That was when the stories were being put out that concrete was being put inside of the milkshakes. And again, this man has been focusing on Portland, and you see what's gone on, especially this year. Absolute insanity. And it really is sad what is going on in Portland right now. I mean, if you look at Andy No's Twitter, this was not a common occurrence, a few years ago. Of course, Antifa, Rose City Antifa being, I believe, the first Antifa group actually created out of Portland. If you look at Portland, Portland had it all right. They really did. The hipsters were creating the hipster utopia that we have never seen before. And yet, for some reason, they simply started to destroy everything that they created. Attacking businesses, attacking random people in the streets, calling people fascists because they didn't believe in their ideology lockstep. And it's really sad. And Andy No has been pointing out these fascists, these true fascists, every single time. He posts consistent pictures of the players that go to jail every single day that are later released by these progressive justices. It's absolutely insane. This guy, I would go with solid participant, maybe even before ABL here, only because the amount of influence this guy has had. He's gone to Congress. He's actually spoke about Antifa. He is consistent in his ideology. And again, he goes out there and he does the legwork that nobody else will do. Going out there and pointing out this terrorist organization that's within America that the Democrats seem to consistently say is just an idea. Joe Biden, just an idea. Antifa is just an idea. Just an idea punching my face. Just an idea, smashing up my business. Just an idea spray painting my house. Just an idea, guys. And is very solid. Check him out on Twitter. Bearing. Now, I do have a couple, political analysis channels that kind of all run um, within the same kind of realm, and Bearing's one of them. Very solid channel. Basically all commentary, very similar to what Sargon of Akkad did back in the 2010s. He hides his face. He doesn't show himself whatsoever, but he goes in on cultural topics, deep topics, political topics, and just gives a very, very solid foundation in terms of viewing that, in terms of breaking the narrative that the mainstream media is consistently pushing. I'd say he's very contrarian in terms of his views. And again, you can check him out. His name is Bearing. He's on YouTube. I'm surprised he hasn't been banned. Some very spicy content in terms of Bearing. I do believe he's good friends with Jeremy Hambley from the Quartering and Count Donkula, who I honestly probably should have put on this list as well. But with that said, we're gonna go with unpolished actor here. And the only reason why I'm doing that, and you're going to see this kind of consistently, unfortunately, with a lot of these channels that happen to not show their face, I do believe they are critical in terms of the culture war, but their influence really is kind of, it really is, it's held back. It's held back by the fact that they do not show their face. Now, it doesn't mean you need to be on camera, etc., showing who you are. You can always hide your face with a mask or whatever, but I don't know. It really does. It doesn't hurt his credibility in terms of what he's saying, but it really does hold him back from actually going out there and putting boots on the ground, meaning that he's not able to go to big conventions. He's not able to go and talk at these, the CPAC or Republicans or Turning Point USA or whatever. They're not able to actually go out there and speak because they're anonymous and they want to remain anonymous. And believe me, I understand. I've already been attacked a couple times, and this is a super small channel at this point. But I believe unpolished actors gonna kind of have to be where it is because they're simply not doing enough to where they could be. This is where we get spicy, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, this is probably where a lot of people are going to get mad at me. And I don't blame you for getting mad at me for what I am about to do to Ben Shapiro here. And I'm putting Daily Wire into this entire umbrella here. It's not really completely fair because Matt Walsh, Knowles, and Clevin. Is it Clevin? I do watch them on a semi-frequent basis. I'm not saying that they're all like this, but Ben, I have lost a massive amount of respect for. not only in the last few years, but just in the last few weeks. The election, if you're watching this right now, just it's still continuing, but November 3rd is come and gone, and his commentary during this entire thing has been of a defeatist attitude, and it's the same thing that happened back in Arizona with the senator who lost in Arizona, which I also believe was a steal, by the way. Um, I'm gonna go with talkie, no more talkie here. Unfortunately, guys, I think Ben Shapiro really has fallen off. I have lost a huge amount of respect for him. Um, he's not a free speech extremist. He's really not. Uh, he consistently, when you go after organizations that are Jewish, it doesn't matter if they're doing something that's nefarious or illegal or what have you. If it just so happens to be Jewish, there's an immediate attack from him. And you have to be able to point out where there are patterns or there are specific. I'm never going to judge an entire religion, just like I would never judge Muslims or Christians or Jews based on an entire religion. That's absolutely absurd. But at this point, he's not even allowing people to talk about individuals within the Jewish faith. And I mean, like, actively pushing out what happened in terms of the law that they passed in the Senate against anti-Semitism after what Ilhan Omar said. And again, I'm not I am the last person to try to protect Ilhan Omar, believe me. But I believe that people should have the right to say what they want to say. If they're not calling for the act of violence against a person or set of persons, you should be able to say what you want. And I just think this guy's he's all talk. And the moment it looked like the election was not going for Donald Trump, on November 3rd, he just turned the tide. He's the type of person to just roll over and take it. It's the old school neocon conservatism that we need to get rid of. And again, Ben does amazing work, and I listen to his podcast probably once a week, once or twice a week. So I'm not saying the guy's intelligent. He's a great speaker. He's able to influence. He has a huge audience. Daily Wire is amazing. They're pushing back against the mainstream media narrative. He's created an amazing team. He just pulled in Candace Owens. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. I'm not saying he's not intelligent. He very much is. But I differ with him in terms of his ideology. Um, Specifically, another thing that really held me down to put him down to talkie, no more talkie was North Korea and South Korea. When Donald Trump went across into North Korea, Ben Shapiro was completely against this. And it just blows my mind. How many more wars? It's not a bad thing to not be at war with a nation. Bringing down the tension. The tension with North Korea now is the lowest in my lifetime, and that's because of Donald Trump. That's because of Donald Trump actually going over there, going to Vladimir Putin, communicating with him, going to Kim Jong-un, and communicating with him. At the end of the day, the America is safer because of this. We are not as safe. It blows my mind. So again, talkie, no more talkie. Come on, Ben. You can't say anti-Semitism every single time someone goes to talk about a Jewish individual. It is absolutely absurd. You talk about facts before feelings, but the moment your feelings are hurt, you just lash out. So either change your rhetoric or just admit it. Just admit that you're not for free speech. Again, Black Pigeon Speaks, kind of landing in the same area as Bering. He does have a bit more of a reach than Bering does. His videos are much more methodical in terms they're actually presenting a more fluent narrative in terms of the way that he gives his ideas out. I will put him above Bering here, but again, unpolished actor, and it's simply because of the anonymity, and it really does. I'm not saying he's not a great channel. He's a fantastic channel, but when you are consistently doing this, consistently hiding behind a face or a character, you're not able to actually go out there, boots on ground. Hey, guys, we're holding a rally here. I want everyone here so that we can go and we can change the world. We can put out our politics. We can, make sure that the rhetoric that's actually being spoken online isn't just empty words, but actual action. So unfortunately, we're going to have to go there. Brandon Straka. See, whoo, this one's a tough one. And you know what? This guy doesn't get enough, in my opinion, he does not get enough oomph behind him. This guy created the Walk Away campaign. The Walk Away campaign is turning people from hardcore progressives, hardcore leftists. I refuse to say liberal because they're not liberal. Hardcore leftists, hardcore progressives, and actually turning them to the right. And this guy is able to change hearts and minds. His Facebook group is one of the largest, not only in America, but the world. I mean, this guy changes hearts. He changes minds. This is a, see, you know what? I'm not even going to go. I'm not even going to go into his you know what? Screw it. I am. Free speech extremist, right, guys? This is a gay man on the conservative side that switched from being a Democrat his entire life to switching to Republican, switching to conservatism, switching to the right side, I believe, of history. With that said, oh, man, this is a tough one. Do I put him? I'm not going to put him in legendary champion. He still has a ways to go. Um, is he just a solid participant? See, honestly, his Facebook group really does give him there, but he's not able to garner huge amount of crowds. But neither is Anomaly. Honestly, oh man, this one's a tough one. Again, he's either on the low end of dominant competitor or on the top end of solid participant. Simply, we got to go with dominant competitor, guys, because he's more than rhetoric. He's more than rhetoric. Brandon Straka is more than rhetoric. He actually changes hearts and minds. He goes out there and he's actually making people change. He's making votes change. And that's huge. You know, you can talk into a microphone, you can talk into a webcam all you want, but you actually boots on ground, actually turning votes in the ballot box. This man is doing it. So I'm gonna have to give him dominant competitor. And honestly, I hate to do this because I really like Anomaly. But now that the more that I think about it, this guy is actually boots on ground, changing the hearts and minds of people, actually going out there, doing the hard legwork that is required to make sure that a particular candidate wins and a certain ideology is the governance of a society. Next one, ladies and gentlemen, Candace Owens. Candace Owens, ladies and gentlemen, man, this is a tough one. Honestly, she's either on the high end of dominant competitor or on the low end of no. I can't even say that. She's legendary champion, guys. She's legendary champion. I mean, this girl just breaks the mold of everything. She really does. She used to be a hardcore Democrat. She's now on the right side of history. She goes out there against celebrities, people that are true influencers that change the hearts and minds of people, and she goes out there and she speaks the God's honest truth. She's a needle mover, and honestly, I could see her not only just being, you know, a political analyst her entire life, but actually running for some seat in the United States of America. And I could actually see her become, you know, either one of the top dogs in the Senate, perhaps even the presidency. Although I'm wondering if she was actually, I can't remember off the top of my head if she was born in America. But let's just say I could actually see her in a Senate seat in the sitting United States Congress. So again, amazing. Ben Shapiro, again, you know, I was kind of beefing on him before, but he's smart. He actually pulled her in. She's working for the Daily Wire now. She's amazing. Amazing influence. Her spats with Cardi B, I've done videos of. Absolutely amazing. She just absolutely just smashes these people roughshod. She is dominant in terms of her politics. She's able to garner votes. She is able to pull eyeballs, and she's just really good at debating. She's a very solid debater, and she absolutely eviscerates the people on the left on a consistent basis through logic and reason. She is an absolute juggernaut in the game of conservatism. That is Candace Owens. Cassandra Fairbanks. Man. I'm going to have to go with unpolished actor here. I think she is an active participant. You see her a lot on Tim Pool's podcast, Timcast IRL. She has a decent Twitter following, but she needs a little bit more oomph to put her up into solid participant at this point. She doesn't have the following quite yet. You know, very attractive girl, talking specifically about what happened to her during the riots. I heard that story about her house being attacked, her being doxxed. I hope you're safe. It's absolutely insane in America that you're not able to speak your truth, and that you're actually going out there and getting censored. It's absolutely pathetic. This woman is great for the movement, and I can see her shine in terms of the future. She needs to consistently push herself out there. She really needs to start growing in terms of her video game. Um, her Twitter audience is quite large, and I'm not saying that doesn't mean something, because obviously it does. Look at people like Donald Trump. But video is the king, in my opinion, at this point, and she does need to kind of grow her roots a little bit if she looks to continue to grow in terms of her influence in terms of conservatism. Talk about influence, though, guys. I'm going to have to go with dominant competitor here for the conservative twins. I think. See, it's really tough for me, but I honestly, just because of the eyeballs, even though Brandon Straka and people like Anomaly have huge audiences, the conservative twins, if you were to add them all up, are absolute monsters. And not only are they able to pull people in terms of their politics, but they're funny. They're entertaining. They're unapologetically masculine. They have that deep voice, and they really do. They project power, and they're very intelligent. Again, doing spats with celebrities, and they are pushing the needle. They had a chance of actually having their own Facebook demonetized. So again, that they are a powerful entity when these big tech media giants start to see, hey, you know what, these guys are kind of changing the hearts and minds of too many people. We got to kind of rein them back in, throttle them, censor them, destroy their lives. That's what we do. That's what we do in America when we hate people's views. When we hate their political views. What we do is we silence and censor them. Welcome to America, guys. The conservative twins are amazing. They actually I used to follow them under Ask Hodge Twins, and they really did. They took a very bold step in a totally different direction by going out there and actually putting their balls on the line and putting their politics on the line. When they were under Ask Hodge Twins, they were simply, basically giving advice to their viewers, talking about how to navigate life, women's lifestyle, happiness, stuff like that. And they were very, very bold, making the jump from Ask Hodge Twins to conservative twins. They still do Ask Hodge Twins stuff, but for the most part, they've become very, very political, and they've done a fantastic job in doing so. Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino. You know what? I'm going to have to go with. Ooh, this is a tough one. I'm going to have to go with. See, this is where my own personal biases come in. I don't watch a lot of Dan Bongino whatsoever. I do follow him on Twitter, and I listen to some of his stuff. But the reason why, oh man, it's so tough. He might even be all the way up here, guys. He might be a legendary champion, guys. And the reason why I say that is because of his investment in Parler. Parler recently, just this week, has grown extraordinary, reaching number one in terms of the App Store. With the amount of censorship and throttling currently going on in terms of big tech and Twitter, there being an alternative out there where conservatives can actually speak their own truth and have their voice actually heard, not being throttled, not being targeted because of an algorithm, not having these, fact checkers all over them, who basically lie. No, this guy actually went out there. He put money onto a platform that is actually allowing people to speak. So I'm going to put him here. Oh, man, see, it's tough, guys. What do you think? Legendary champion or dominant competitor? I mean, is he in the same breath as Alex Jones and Candace Owens? I don't think so. I don't think so. He is a big name in the game, there's no doubt. But is he as big as Alex Jones and Candace Owens? I'm going to put him at dominant competitor at the very high end. Yeah, you got to go with dominant competitor. Oh, sorry, guys. Dan Bongino, again, very solid voice. He recently got put out there that he has cancer. Say a prayer for him right now. He's not looking too good. It just why is it with all these legends? Hey, I just said legends. You got to give it to him, guys. We have to. We have to. Putting out there, putting his balls on the line. He used to be a Secret Service member in terms of the United States, so this man has information about the intergovernment workings of how the government actually works. He was actually a Secret Service agent for 3 sitting presidents, so this guy knows his stuff. And he's created an amazing podcast and able to influence massive amounts of people in terms of the conservative movement. And again, putting money, putting his balls on the line in terms of Parler. Join Parler if you haven't already. This guy is actually going out there doing the legwork that needs to be done. Dave Rubin. I'm going to put him on the end of solid participant. And again, like I said before, guys, I'm painting a very broad brush when I say conservatism here. The influence of Dave Rubin is absolutely amazing. His podcast, where he sits down with people and just speaks it out, it's very Tim Pool-esque, very Joe Rogan-esque, where he's actually going out there and actually speaking truth and challenging the ideas of these people. And he's the type of person who would actually bring on anybody. He does not care. He will bring people from the left. He'll bring people from the right. He'll bring people from the center. He will actually bring people together so that we can find commonalities. And that's ultimately what this is all about. I might actually put him above ABL just because of the amount of influence that he's had. He consistently works with people like Ben Shapiro, Adam Carolla, and people like that, as well as I can't remember it off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, again, a very solid person. I know he's done work with Donald Trump Jr. As well as Eric Trump, Ivanka, and stuff like that. So he does have his place in this. I will put him in the solid participant category. You should check him out, Dave Rubin of the Rubin Report. Dinesh D'Souza, guys. See, I had a tough time trying to figure out, did we want to go with these super mainstream guys? But this guy, Dinesh D'Souza, has gone out there. I know he's been a guest for Turning Point USA, going out there and speaking to people about conservatism, specifically about the historical lies of the Democrat Party, and actually pointing out that it was Democrats that had the slaves, and yet for some reason Republicans are held up as the racists nowadays. It really is kind of funny, the change, because back in the 1990s when I was growing up, it was always the conservatives that were, kind of like, oh, don't say that, don't do this, oh my God, we have to put warning labels on these rap CDs. And it was just like, they were always like, the tie and stuff like that, and just always just kind of like their tie was too tight and they just couldn't let go. The new conservative party is like, hey, come out, have a beer, let's hang out, let's talk, let's chat, let's talk about whatever we want. And now it's like the left has taken on the new right. The left is like, you can't say that, you can't do that, you can't say that about people, we're going to change the meaning of words, we're going to ban you, we're going to censor you, we're going to silence you. It's absolutely insane, the authoritarianism that has gone on to the left. I mean, so much more than I believe the right was back then. It was more of a religious lens that the right was persecuting people from, and now it's the left that are attacking people simply based on their ideas. So it has gone full on hardcore authoritarianism. But in terms of Dinesh D'Souza, I would go with dominant competitor here. He doesn't have as much of a reach as he used to. Well, see, I don't even know if that's true. I mean, this guy is known throughout the political landscape. He's absolutely solid. He recently was arrested. I don't believe he's still on house arrest. He gave money to somebody who was trying to fund a campaign, and he gave too much money to them, to try to get them elected. But let's just be honest, guys. With these super PACs, it's not like these people aren't doing it already. Look at how much Wall Street gave Joe Biden, and yet, of course, because it's Dinesh D'Souza, he's targeted. I'm going to put him on dominant competitor. He's very, very solid in terms of his speech and just his political acumen, and his ability to show history in a different limelight is a real waker-upper for people that are still taking on the blue pill in full force. This guy absolutely destroys the left's narrative about how Republicans and conservatives are racist, and actually points out that there wasn't a single Republican with a slave when the Emancipation Proclamation was put out there. It was the left, it was the Democrats, and the whole big switch thing is a complete and total farce, a total lie.